Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meet
in the
Middle.
As you can see, we have a new face with us. Special welcome to Ashley.
Hello.
Ashley is our new community life coordinator. She is here with us and is going to be getting in touch with you guys and putting you to work.
yes.
I like it.
Absolutely. She's here to help get our congregation connected, help us with service projects in the community, and all kinds of great and fun and exciting things. So we're really glad to have Ashley as part of our team.
Yep. Some of you may recognize Ashley if you've been to Lantana. She has been our worship musician there for 6 months.
About a year.
About a year. And her husband's an awesome musician too, a drummer. And so they've been up there. But as you know, we've had to discontinue live services there for now. And I've been talking to Ashley about that situation, sadly, laying her off, and but wanting to talk to her more about the future. And she began a conversation with me about how she felt the Lord was leading her in directions of broader ministry than the kind of ministry that you experience just simply in the music world. We all love music here, and she's very gifted. And we're grateful that God's given her that gift, but there are other ways for people to worship outside of the confines of a praise set. And Ashley was talking to me about that, and as we began to think about that position, the first thing we thought of is no one's going to ever replace Kim Bell, and no one needs to. Kim has been a phenomenal person in this role, and she has done a great job, and we're happy for her retirement. We've missed her, and we're really grateful that the Lord led her in that direction for her own well-being and health. But as we thought about some priorities that we wanted to work on, certainly one of them was that we wanted to continue to make a focus for this job of involving people in ministry. Kim did that very well. We need to continue to build on that because we're not the church. We're just the people you see right now and the people you'll see up front on Sunday. You're the church. And what's always been an important thing is to keep people involved in that and listen to their interests and equip them and help them to do that. And it just popped in my mind that Ashley was talking kind of down the same path. And when we asked her, we were thrilled that she said that she would put the keyboard over here in the other part of her life and begin to focus maybe on the different keyboard, emailing and texting you all to get to know you better. So she's new, doesn't know a lot about Advent Boca. She's going to be getting in touch with you all over time, or you can reach out to her, and she's going to basically be asking you, what kind of ways do you want to see Advent show the world that love is why we're here, and that love is what we're up to. So we're welcoming you.
Thank you.
That's right.
Well, you know what I thought would be fun, since we have Ashley here with us anyways.
Yeah.
And she's already live on camera.
Even though I don't have a cool shirt.
Let's
Not yet.
Let's put her on the hot seat a little bit. Why don't we all ask her at least one question that we'd like to know and help the audience get to know Ashley a little bit too. I've known Ashley the longest.
Okay.
Pastor Andy's known her the mediumest.
The smallest.
You've known her the least amount of
The
time.
least,
So you get to
okay.
ask the first question.
Oh, I get to ask the first question. I feel like I know Ashley so well. I did a lot of preaching and stuff at Lantana,
That's right.
and she was always right there. And then some different events that Ashley did an amazing job coordinating there. So I know that she has extreme talents. Why? Everybody kind of, they associate you with music a lot of times, but tell us why the switch. Why you feel called to this area of ministry?
Oh, that's easy, actually. So that's good. That I know right
Softball.
away.
I gave you the easiest
Softball.
one because
Underhand.
I know. Honestly, I grew up in church. I love church. I love when the church is the church in all of its fullness and its beauty. How beautiful the hands and feet are of the church. But through those years, I've also either witnessed or experienced myself the hurt of the church and the hurt of the judgment of the church, and how so many times we're known for what we're against instead of being known for what we're for.
Mm-hmm.
And if love is why we're here, like that's what we're supposed to be known by our love. And so for me, having, it was always a really meaningful thing to me to be in a worship experience. And it was really important for me that the lyric content of all the songs, that we took time to explain, this is why we sing this. This is why we sing the word glory. This is what glory means. This is what it means when God's our Redeemer. When we break apart these certain concepts that we, these churchy words that we sing so many times. But it was always so important to me that we got to the heart of why we sing these songs, because the words are only there to articulate, how we feel about God and what we want to say to him. And after a time period, what really started to break my heart was that I only had a chance to have those conversations once people were in the doors. And that was it just wasn't enough for me anymore. And I wanted to go ahead and be able to have those heartfelt, meaningful things to help restore people and give them communication with God and tools for that, to articulate, what they want to say to him. But it was only in a church service, and how do you get people in the doors, and how do you get that message outside the doors? And so for me, one of the things that's just pure in my heart, this some people worship through nature, and some people worship through education and stewardship and service, and absolutely people worship through the arts, but my heart is just to help hurting people, and aren't we all hurting, and aren't we all broken, So that's I was ready.
Awesome. Boom. I knew you would be. Your turn.
All right, well, I'm not going to ask about ministry stuff. I already talked about that. I want to know more about, Ashley and her husband just put on a wonderful YouTube, Facebook music presentation that was, I think, some originals or all originals.
All originals, yeah.
And they were, I guess, not in the normal praise vein.
No.
They were very different than I'd heard you do before. Tell us a little bit about this, other part of your life, the musical life that's not always been within the church.
Sure. Well, I'm a firm believer that the world doesn't need more Christian artists. The world needs more artists who are Christians. And I love, I remember being part of that whole thing, in the 90s, being a teenager, when there started to be this concept of crossover bands, where it's there was a bunch of worship leaders, background, but Switchfoot, where there's these, they're Christian guys, but they're playing in a secular setting. And so for me to kind of break down that barrier of what is secular versus what is sacred, and so many things can be sacred if your heart is in tune, And so what comes out horizontally, as long as it's right vertically, that's, my dad always says that, as long as the vertical is right, the horizontal will be fine. And so for me, when I write, I feel like I write all of my songs. All of my songs generally tend to be inspired by something that just snaps in my brain and snaps in my heart, and something that sometimes it's me working out a problem or working out an issue, and I want to be able within 3 minutes to articulate what it is. So I want to be able to put it in a nice neat box and be able to wrap it up in a nice little package. And I feel like I write all of my songs with my big brother Jesus by my side, I feel like all of those, all of those creative things are just one more form of worship and one more form of, communication with him. But what a beautiful thing when somebody else listens to it and says, oh, I know what you were feeling. Because how many of us have had that experience when you listen to a song and a line hits you where you're like, I know exactly what that feels like. So that's the creative element for me. So it's just one more outlet, one more way of having a conversation and working things out. Form of journaling.
It would be hard if you're a follower of Christ to write a song that wasn't Christian, from the perspective of you see the world a new way now.
Yeah.
You describe it in a new way. You can't talk about someone in the old ways, or you can't think about a problem in the old ways. You address it with eyes of faith and voices of faith. So it's I remember being fascinated by finding out that Bono and the U2 guys, 3 out of the 4 anyway, were Christian. And I remember one of the interviewers saying to him, well, why don't you just say that you're a Christian? And he said, because I think being a Christian is the hardest thing in the world, and I'm not ready to say that yet. I thought, how many Christians say it's the easiest thing in the world? And he was saying it was the hardest because he really took it seriously.
Wow.
And good.
Yes.
All right, Ashley. Well, I'm
I'm
going to go
ready.
longest, so I'm gonna skip by the artistic and the ministry side. But let's get a little personal.
Okay, all right.
You and Jeff did something that I thought was really cool. Somewhat, I mean, in the recent history when you got married, right?
Yeah.
You guys did a surprise wedding
We did.
for your friends and family. Tell us about that. I thought that was so
A surprise
fun.
wedding.
We did.
I don't know this.
This is kind of typical of Jeff and I. We like a good surprise, obviously, for each other and, for our friends. So Jeff proposed on April Fool's Day.
Attaboy.
And so, I mean, I knew it was real. There was a ring. It was beautiful.
Taking it back.
It was also Easter of that year too. So he had put together this beautiful little egg hunt. It was great. A little scavenger hunt for me. So when we were planning the wedding, we knew we didn't want to be engaged for a really long time, and we were excited to get married, and we don't like to wait for anything, and so what we did was that we planned an engagement party. It was really cool. I was living in Delray at the time, and we planned this beautiful engagement party on the rooftop deck of my apartment building. The pool was up on the rooftop. It was gorgeous. So we told everybody they were coming to our engagement party, like a summer kickoff. And then we had told them we'll get married, later on in the year. Maybe we'll just elope later in the year. But, but so far just come and, enjoy the engagement party. And we have so many people that love us and have supported us and just encouraged us along, in our relationship. So we thought it would be pretty darn funny if we got married that morning. So we got married that morning with just our family in a really small ceremony. And then later that night, when everybody showed up for the engagement party,
Surprise!
gown and veil and all the things.
That's
and
awesome.
Yes, it was really, really
Cut
fun.
to the chase here.
It was a great party.
So Peyton, if you're watching, the
Also
moral of the
cost-effective.
story is you could save your parents lots of money.
That's it.
By switching to Geico.
Well, welcome.
Thank
And
you.
I just love the fact that she's a country girl.
I am a country
So I feel like I've got a friend in the office here.
Born
that-
and raised Northwestern Pennsylvania.
That's right. In fact, I have some taxidermy in my office, and
I'm jealous.
I am scared that she's going to steal it. She's been in there taking pictures, and I'm like, no flash photography, please. So anybody that respects that, I respect them. So
Maybe we should do a photo series of all of our taxidermy together.
there we go. All right. Coming soon to a video near you.
I like it.
I suppose you eat venison too.
Of course.
Yeah. Of course. Oh boy.
Jerky.
Hey, we have some announcements we'll get out of the way here too, up front, and that is, this place just keeps rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the good news is that with the local authorities, health authorities, declaring this a phase 1 time period for our county, that allows us to begin thinking about some things. You may have heard that small groups can resume a meeting if they're 10 and under. I don't know how you tell the 11th and 12th person to stay away, but you have to work that out. We really think it'd be best if you met in masks. I know that that can be difficult, for some, but we would encourage that to meet in masks. And we have several groups that have come back and it's worked out really well. Let us know so we can make sure the room is ready for you, sanitized and taken care of. And then if you're able, we'll leave wipes and such you can wipe down wherever you sat or were. We have plans to reopen the early childhood school, very likely next Tuesday, working out the last details to that, and excited about that. Our families are very excited. Many of them have been struggling to get back to work and they really need a safe place for their children. And so we're hoping that we can work that out for next week. That's the plan. And the week after that, summer camp. Shane, you want to?
June 1st, where you're at it, Miss Ballas is hard at work. We are completely full right now. That doesn't mean you can't go on our waiting list. So if you are interested in going on a waiting list, let people know. But we are absolutely full right now. We're going to be taking the highest measure of safety that is required, and we're going beyond that. And everybody that's looked at our plan is very excited about what we're doing. I mean, we're going to the max. Because we can, and because we want to keep our kids safe. We want to keep our families at as most ease as possible. I mean, we can't, and nobody can guarantee anything during this time, but we can at least take precautions that help us be as safe as possible. And that's what Ms. Ballas is doing. That's what we're doing. The team's doing, and obviously some parents are taking confidence in that because. Man, they registered their kids super fast. Yeah. We are completely booked, so we're excited about that. I'm excited about getting back to a few youth things. So like I said, we're going to be starting in June. I'm still kind of in the planning process, figure out how we're going to social distance, how we're going to meet, how we're going to do some spread out. So that's going to be coming very soon, some information, and we got to keep that same number down too. And obviously we have more youth than that, so we've got to figure out all these details. We might meet by grade groups for a little bit. We might do some different things, but I've got some really fun activities that are be kind of geared and planned for those groups as well. So. Exciting. We still got a long ways to go in this, but excited about the possibilities that are ahead. One more thing, our Quarantine Crush Challenge, which won't be this Saturday, but the next Saturday, we are going on with that. Now, I'd never run a virtual run before, so this is something new for me. I'd actually run...
Sounds relaxing.
It's a virtual run. I'll add some music to that later. But no, so I didn't really know what I was doing. And I actually got in contact with a few people that did know what they're doing, and they said their numbers are kind of down right now with the virtual stuff. They started out really strong. In fact, it was the highest it had ever been in their history of doing these virtual runs, but it's kind of dropped out. People are dropping out. But I don't want you to drop out, because now we're changing it a little bit. We're lowering the price way down to $25. There is going to be no medals, no drawstring bags or anything like that. It's going to be a live virtual challenge event, but you're going to get an awesome t-shirt with that $25. I would pay $25 just for the t-shirt.
That's it.
In fact, if I edit this right, there should be a t-shirt somewhere on the screen right now, or at least the design of one.
Yep.
There it is. Okay, so it's an awesome T-shirt. So that's worth $25 as it is. But everything we raise for that is going to go into our emergency relief fund. And guys, join if nothing else for the T-shirt. But we will be doing a live virtual event where myself, probably Izzy, maybe one of my kids, and some other people will be showing you how to do some of these workouts live. And then you can go back, if you missed the live event, you can go back and watch it later. So should be fun. I'm excited, but I'm also excited about next Saturday.
Yeah, next Saturday we have
this Saturday.
Oh, this Saturday. That's right.
Time
You
flies.
almost messed me up.
I know, my bad.
This Saturday is our drive-through hullabaloo and our scavenger hunt. We postponed our scavenger hunt for a worry of weather last Saturday, and then we ended up with a beautiful Saturday.
It did. It was beautiful for most
It was.
of it.
But hopefully this Saturday we'll have more of the same. So here's the way it's going to work. You will come here from 10 to 12. We'll have a drive-through hullabaloo. This is what we're going to want for you to bring, and we'll send this out in email form as well. Something to write. We're going to have a giant canvas where you can write notes of appreciation to teachers, to first responders, to doctors, to anyone you want. Someone that you appreciate the way that they have served or something they've done, maybe even in your personal life. And we're going to have a giant canvas where we can write these notes of appreciation, these thank yous. Bring your own markers for that. We'll have the canvas. We'll take pictures of it. We'll post it, and we'll preserve that somehow for memory, and be able to share that with the people that have done so much during this time. And then we'll also have some live music playing. And then you'll circle around, and you can bring your own balls, and you can dunk Pastor Shane in the dunk tank as well.
I hear it's going to be like 45 degrees out.
I mean, I'm praying for that, but I don't think that we'll get 45 degrees
I doubt it.
in May.
I've been praying for that since
Florida.
I've lived in Florida, and
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe one weekend in January.
yeah, maybe.
What are the hours of this now?
10 to 12.
10 to 12.
10 to 12 drive
And
through.
then
Hollywood. And then the
off to the
last
scavenger
stop.
hunt.
Yeah, the last stop. You will get your clue. Your first clue will then lead you to our scavenger hunt. And our scavenger hunt will be 10 different stops. You'll go to each stop. When you find it, you'll take a picture. And when you send all those 10 pictures in, you might win a prize.
Ooh, you might win a prize. There's no guarantee on that, but
No,
you
I
might.
think we have
win a prize.
prizes. I just don't know
What they are?
how many. Millions of people are probably watching now.
Millions.
Yeah.
Millions of people are watching right now.
And so if millions of people do the drive-through, we won't be able to get that many prizes.
Okay, good.
Top
Yeah.
5.
Top 5. Top 5.
Top 5 feels right.
All right.
All right.
Good.
Yeah. Well, Pastor Andy, you've been doing a Tuesday Bible study through the Psalms, and you've been enjoying that. And you had some thoughts you wanted to share with our audience today.
Yeah, I really have gotten interested in studying more about the Psalms because they're a sermon series, and then this Bible study seemed like a logical one, but also very much a personal matter of digging into these. When you are in a situation like this, words don't always come easy to describe your feelings, describe what's going on for other people. And what's remarkable is the book of Psalms can speak for us. And it speaks for us not just in pious ways, but in really powerful, real ways. People in the Psalms get depressed. They get scared. They get angry. They're happy. They're grateful. They're celebrating. They're mourning. And they speak with a clarity that sometimes I find it difficult about what's going on internally with me and my faith. And so I really enjoyed it, and people have gotten into it in all sorts of ways. And as I was doing my research, I came across a really good book that I wanted to share with you all, and you can get it pretty darn cheap because it's not new. I think I paid about $6 for this shipped. The Message of the Psalms. You might know Walter Brueggemann. He's pretty well known for writing, and especially Old Testament, but he was a professor of Old Testament in Columbia Theological Seminary. This book that I liked about it is there are 150 Psalms. It kind of blows your mind to have 150 different songs of faith, all in different directions. And especially if you start reading number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're like all over the place. And I've always appreciated those who could help give me some clarity. And this book was the most helpful for that theologically that I've found. Others do it in terms of the styles of Psalms, which is the way we're studying it on Tuesdays. This does it theologically. And before you tune out completely, because that sounds boring, let me tell you it's not. What he does is say that the Psalms can be understood in 3 movements, and I just like this so much. The movements begin with a psalm of orientation, and a good section, a number of the Psalms fall into this category of orientation. And basically what he says is that the Psalms of orientation, they are statements to describe a happy, blessed state in which the speakers are grateful for and confident in the abiding, reliable gifts of life that are long-standing from time past and will endure from time to come. Life, as reflected in these Psalms, is not troubled or threatened, but is seen as the well-ordered world intended by God. Psalm 145 is an example. I will exalt you, my God, the King. I will praise your name forever. Every day I will praise you and extol your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord and most worthy of praise. His greatness no one can fathom. The Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and rich in love. I mean, this is just like blue skies, fluffy white clouds, green meadows, and all is well. Doesn't feel that way right now, does it? But one can imagine back to the fall of this year, even leading into the new year. We had things going on. Nothing like this. A psalm like this, or any of these psalms of orientation, might have been a lot easier to sing and pray in that time. What he says is that these are important. These Psalms of orientation, it's sort of reminding us of Eden. The Garden of Eden, it was perfect at one time. And these Psalms are from people of faith. They're not blindly saying this, but they're saying this kind of out of a longing for a time, and also a recognition that God does bring times where everything's right with the world. But it doesn't always stay that way. Shocker. Let's see. The problem with Psalms that are focused on orientation, equilibrium, coherence, symmetry, in other words, everything being right, is that it may deceive and cover over. Life is not always like that. Life is always, I love this word, savagely marked by disequilibrium, incoherence, unrelieved asymmetry. In other words, disorientation. And he uses a psalm of disorientation. How long, O Lord, right? Psalm 13. Will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and every day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? And we can all say amen to this right now. And maybe even more so a couple weeks ago. But probably still, many of us still in this spot. How long? I mean, one of our staff members lost a father just yesterday. And we were hoping he would make it through. Others of you have other tales to recount about jobs and families, etc. How long has been a question. We should never take the Psalms of orientation as the only avenue of faith. They are a place we get to. Sometimes it does feel like everything is good. And you can say, God is good all the time, God is good. But I'll bet you if you've ever been in church on a Sunday where we're singing a praise song like that, there's been a few of you going, I'm not here right now. This isn't hitting me. And that's okay. If we didn't know the good things, then the disorientation would just be a nightmare that we never recover from. So there are those times, and there's good days and bad days, right? Good days and bad days. The Psalms lift up joyfully the good days. The Psalms, gratefully for those of us who have them, express the bad days. What's cool is it doesn't just go back and forth. Some religions do. There's the dark side, right? And there's the bright side. And that is a constant battle between the two. We have this thing called resurrection, which blows everything out of the water and says, the good times are good, the bad times are bad, but the best times are yet to come. And these are the Psalms that he calls of reorientation. And a psalm that expresses that is Psalm 30. I will exalt you, O Lord, for you lifted me out of the depths and did not let my enemies gloat over me. O Lord my God, I called to you for help. You healed me. O Lord, you brought me up from the grave. You spared me from going down into the pit. Sing to the Lord, you saints of his. Praise his holy name. For his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may remain for a night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. So pick this book up, folks. If you got a patience, unfortunately it doesn't come in 2 days these days. But for $6 you can really, I know I'm real excited about it, and I hope that you will get from that simple schema an opportunity to think about our Christian faith that way. He died, but he rose again. He lived, he died, he rose again. And it's markedly different what is to come. Markedly different. And I know as we get ready to head out of this stage, I hope that we'll experience that resurrection life anticipated in the Psalms of reorientation. So anyway, if you want more information about which Psalms fall into what categories, you can always email, and we'll be glad to share that, or otherwise pick up the book. And I think you'll find the Psalms to be a real helpful tool again as we move to this next stage.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Psalms are great. They help us on a journey through life because they're real.
They're real.
They're very real, pouring out of emotion. And I've said it multiple times. I really think, deep down, the reason that David was referred to as a man after God's own heart, it wasn't about his behavior, but it was about how real he was with God, how he poured his heart out regularly. In the midst of his sin, how he was broken over his sin, and in the midst of times when things were good. I mean, David's there singing and praising and dancing without much clothes on, if you believe the stories. Yeah.
Here's some
That's
talk
how
about that.
that's how he was praising God. I'm not suggesting that at home.
Well, they're at home.
That's
they can
probably
do-
the safest place for them to
Yeah,
be
go ahead.
dancing
His
around.
wife was not happy.
No, she was not happy.
There you go.
All right, Bill Gates, keep your clothes on.
Oh gosh.
Well, speaking of David, David is one of my favorite characters of the Bible, and one of the things I was thinking might be fun is to go around and share maybe a favorite character from the Bible that is a little more obscure. A little more obscure.
So just pick something from the Bible that's more obscure and
Yeah,
who would be you
A
want to
lesser known story?
Yeah, lesser known
Or a-
story, and tell us a little bit about why you connect with that figure. Who wants to go first? Who's ready?
Mine's not a lesser known story, but I love people in the background.
Okay.
Or people that are just absolutely normal people. People that the Bible may not even give them a name, but that person was there. And so I have a lot of people that matches up for me in the Bible. I just like that because I see myself as just a normal guy. I'm just a normal guy. I don't think I'm a Paul, a Peter and stuff. I relate with a lot of the things they go through and but I'm just a normal guy who struggles with sin and struggles with things and tries to do my best. And so when you said that, I actually for some reason thought of the guy on the cross beside Jesus. We don't know his name. All we know is that he was somebody who did something bad, was in trouble, and he deserved to be on that cross. And he looks at Jesus and he's like, "Hey, remember me. Remember me. You don't deserve to be here. I deserve to be here. Remember me." And I think I'm that guy on that cross beside Jesus. I don't deserve life, but Jesus gives it to me, and He's going to remember me. I'm going to call out to Him. He's going to remember me. And so, to me, that's just a powerful figure that you don't really think about very often. And people like that throughout the Bible. I could name a lot more, and I like those people that are in the background because they're people like me. So.
Love it. I'll go next because I'll piggyback off of that.
Okay, there you go.
Because I like zealots.
You want to be the other?
I like zealots. I like people who act fast.
Okay.
In the honor of the Lord. Yes. When you threw it out, I had a couple options that I was trying to, but I'll go with a more G-rated one then.
Good way to start.
This is a family show.
I know. But read the story of JL. She's pretty cool. Right to the head. Anyways, I'll go. Speaking of David, I'll go with Abigail. I'll go with Abigail. She was one of his earlier wives. But her background story was that she was married to a fool for all intents and purposes, and there was some tension, with the story of David and his men coming through. Got to read the story yourself, but the thing about Abigail is that she's mentioned as being intelligent and beautiful, but intelligent first, and it mentions quite a few times in the chapter of her story that she acted quickly. She was smart and she acted quickly, and she really saved a lot of people, and she was a real peacemaker in the process of acting quickly. And I think that there's always something it's just so admirable to me that she had her wits about her. She ran her household well. She knew how to do all the things, and she took matters into her own hands, and she was really efficient, and God really honored her because of it. So that's a good hero for me.
That's and an obscure one too.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Sometimes the people in the shadows are more interesting than the people
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
absolutely.
spotlight.
Well, there's so much more of the story we don't know. Like, you know.
Right?
I'm going to cheat and do two. The came to my mind right away was Aquila and Priscilla from Paul's greetings in the letter of 1 Corinthians. He met them in Corinth, and having been to Corinth and having heard about Corinth, it was a den of iniquity and also a fascinating religious center with God's galore. And I just think about these two innocently making their tents on the street side, sewing up things, and Paul says, "Hey, is this spot taken?" You know, and sitting next to them, and Paul seems to have evangelized through his work and made his first connections by working with people, which is just so cool. And not only did he evangelize them, but when he decided to move on, they moved on with him. And they went to Ephesus with him and ended up being, evangelists. But the idea of just, being transported from a whole way of life by the guy that says, "Hey, is this spot taken?" It's a really cool idea. And we don't know much about them either, but we do know that the church in Ephesus grew and became well known in Christendom. And so they obviously were part of that.
Pastor Dave, you came up with the question, so obviously you best have the
he's
best
got it.
answer. Like,
It's the guy with you stick the knife into him or something.
like,
Is that the guy?
so go ahead, let's hear it.
No, Ehud, the left-handed judge,
Ehud.
is outstanding.
He loves
it's
that
an
one.
outstanding story, but I'll save that for another day.
Ehud.
Another one you should look up at home, Ehud, the left-handed judge.
It's just really...
But, no, I want to talk about Josiah. And it's interesting, David is the standard by which all the kings are measured. In fact, if we read through the books of Kings and even Chronicles, it says either he followed God like his father David or he didn't. Most of them didn't. And the one person who's singled out, who it actually says followed as well as David, or better than any king ever before. So the implication is he followed God even better than David did, is Josiah. And Josiah instituted all this religious reform for the nation. But I think the coolest thing about Josiah is he became king at age 8.
Yeah.
8 years old. And
I was
so,
about to mention that.
what are you doing, 8-year-olds out there?
Yeah, that's. I was
Are you ready? Are you ready to rule a nation?
My daughter,
I'm glad they
my
did
daughter
that.
could rule a nation.
They would say, "Open up everything."
Yeah,
They would, yeah.
Disney World. But it actually connects me to another person I really like, which is Timothy. And when Paul writes a letter to Timothy, one of the verses that I've always shared with my kids and any kids I come in contact with is do not let the believers look down on you because you are young,
Yeah, amen.
but set an example for them in all the aspects of your life. And Josiah did that. He lived that out as an 8-year-old king.
Amazing.
And so, wherever stage of life we're at, this is not an age-specific thing, but whatever stage of life we're at, God has a plan and a ministry for us all
Yeah. Yes.
to live out. And so, figuring out what that is and then doing that is helps us in our own faith journeys, and it helps the kingdom of God. So, any closing remarks, anyone?
Oh, let's see. What else do we have? We've already mentioned it, but worship thoughts.
Yeah. So we're just, we're continuing to come up with the best possible plans we can, going in the future. But our feeling, the feeling of the council and our team is that we're not really ready to do live worship in a way that we think would be as good as what we're doing right now. Some of the restrictions right now would require that we maybe only had about 25 people here, 25 to maybe 50 at most people here. Everyone would be required to wear masks. It seems that it would be best to not have singing, which to me is an important part of my personal worship experience. I want to be able to continue to do that. And so some of the things that would be very restrictive would also be a very limiting factor to the product we'd be able to do in terms of visually for those that were still at home. And we also know that we want to, love is why we're here, but as we've kind of joked and said, love is why we stay. Love is why we wear masks. Love is why we do what we do. And we think the most loving thing we can do right now is to wait until we really feel we can do this safely and really do it well for our entire Advent community.
By the way, love is why we stay. And see the shirt that's floating around right now? I'm going to have to edit this in later. But there's going to be a shirt floating around. On the sleeve it says, love is why we stay. So, boom!
Nice.
There it is.
Collector's item.
Collector's edition.
I was there.
You were there. Yes,
Sadly, we were all
we
there.
were all here.
We were all there.
Of
I
course.
should have copyrighted that.
We should have. Missed the boat on that. This is a time, too, to really make sure to reach out if you're watching, if you're running out of steam. 1 month is a novelty, 2 months is a struggle, and now we're looking at in the 3rd month, of which, I know we're all maybe getting out a little bit. I've also heard of people not getting out at all, and maybe you're listening, maybe you don't feel safe at all. So listen, we're here. Please reach out. We don't read your minds. We don't know. If you're struggling because you haven't been able to get on any of these Bible studies or anything else, please let us know, and we'll try to work that out with you. But know that we care, and we're here for you, and that you are never alone when you're in the family of God.
Absolutely.
Good work.
Well, thanks for joining us again, and we will see you on Saturday at the drive-thru Hullabaloo, and Sunday in worship, and next Wednesday at Meet in
The
Little.
Bye, guys.